Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for being here today. We appreciate your time and willingness to join us for this event. We're hosting this forum virtually to hopefully reach a larger crowd. We are live on Facebook and we'll be downloading the video to the Chamber's YouTube channel this afternoon in Central Raleigh Chamber. The forum today is brought to you by the Central Raleigh Chamber's Government Affairs Committee. The committee remains strictly nonpartisan in its efforts to provide voters with informative and unbiased opportunities to hear from candidates. At this time, I would like to introduce Kerby, Chairman of our Government Affairs Committee, who will introduce our candidates and review the form guidelines before we begin. Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome. We will begin by introducing our mayoral candidates. We have with us today the incumbent Charles Murphy, candidate Ruth Campbell, candidate Russell Johnson. We regret to announce that candidate Roger Booth is unable to attend today's forum due to a medical emergency. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Our timekeeper today is Jenny Buck. She is on the Central Baldwin Chamber's Government Affairs Committee. Our moderator is Mark Ingram. He's the Vice President of Corporate Services and Public Relations at Baldwin EMC. At this time, I'm going to go over the forum guidelines. As they arrive today, the candidates drew a number to establish the order in which they will speak. All candidates will receive the same questions and alternate speaking first for each question. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening and closing statement in the order they are seated. After the opening statements, candidates will answer questions asked by the moderator. Candidates are asked to respond to questions with specific details rather than general statements. Candidate responses to the questions are limited to 3 minutes. Our timekeeper, Jenny, will hold up a sign when you have 30 seconds remaining, and an alarm will sound when your time is up. At that time, you must hand the microphone to the next candidate. The moderator will interrupt candidates who go over the limit. We ask that citizens with additional questions for candidates contact them directly using the candidate's preferred method, which will be noted at the end of the program and on our Facebook page. I will now turn it over to our moderator to begin the opening statements.
Thank you, Chris. Candidates, we appreciate your time and your willingness to participate in this event to share your thoughts and concerns with our viewers. We'll now begin with your opening statements. Each of you will have 1 minute for your opening statement. As a reminder, the timekeeper will hold up a sign when you have 30 seconds remaining. Also, an alarm will sound when your time is up. At that time, I will ask that you pass the microphone to the next candidate. At this time, we'll start with incumbent Charles Murphy.
Mr. Ingram, thank you for hosting tonight, this afternoon. I'm Charles Murphy, I'm President Mayor of Robertsdale, and I'm seeking your vote for another term in office. I want to say my sincere appreciation to the community over the years for all that you've given to me, myself, and my family. But I also would like to thank our City Council for the hard work they've done during this past administration, for the many things that we've accomplished. Also, our wonderful city employees that go each morning to provide us quality services and improve our community. Dear Heavenly Father, also with the candidates today, I'd like to acknowledge my appreciation for the others that are seeking office. This is a noble cause to get for a public service. And most of all, to thank the Chamber for hosting this for us today. Thank you.
Now, Ruthie Campbell.
Hello, my name is Ruthie Campbell. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in a small town called Robertsdale in Alabama. Now, our city, the city of Robertsdale. I went to school here, graduated from Robertsdale High School, raised my family in Robertsdale. We all went through the schools here in town. I have one grandchild. My daughter still lives here, and he attends Robertsdale Elementary School at this time. So we're all still in tradition. I live in a home that my grandfather built in 1959, and part of that land that he used for farming and cattle running on it, part of that land Shadowbrook is on, is at the Shadowbrook subdivision and our Coliseum. I would like for you to know that in November of 2012, I came on as council, and I have enjoyed my public servant work, and I am seeking the seat of mayor for the city of Robertsdale, and I love this town, love this place, because it's our city, mine and yours together. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from candidate Russell Johnson.
Hi, Robertsdale. Glad to be here. Thank you for the chamber for hosting this, and thank you for the other candidates for being here. A little bit about myself. I married my wife, Stephanie. We've been married for 18 years. We met at Troy University. We have 2 girls, Adeline and Bailey. After graduating from Troy with my human resource degree, we moved to Robertsdale, and along with my parents, we opened up Gurus Grill, and then shortly after, we opened up Sweet Home Coffee. And I've been on the city council for the past 5 years. Through all these experiences, I've learned that there's a lot to be proud of about Robertsdale, but there's a lot of potential left on the table. I love this town, I want it to flourish, and I think in order for that to happen, new leadership is needed. So that's a little about me, and thank you.
Thank you each for giving your opening statements. Now we will begin with the questions. I ask that each of you respond to each question with specific details rather than general statements. As to remind you, you'll have 3 minutes to respond. The timekeeper will hold up a sign when you have 30 seconds remaining, and once again, an alarm will sound when your time is up. At that time, I ask that you pass the microphone to the next candidate. We'll start first with incumbent Charles Murphy. The question for each one of you is, residents want smart growth, but legal restrictions make it difficult to simply stop development if a project meets all requirements. How would you work with both citizens and developers to prevent overdevelopment while avoiding costly lawsuits?
Thank you very much for the question. Of course, with growth, that's paramount on everyone's minds this time. With the city, on the actual application of subdivision property is handled by a 9-member board, which is the Robertsdale Planning Commission. The board has done an excellent job over the years in addressing this matter and trying to keep our standards at a current basis. We're in the process right now of updating our comprehensive plan. It was originally approved in 2015. We are hoping to have that completed in the fall of this year. And then the Planning Commission has already indicated they want to go back and look at the land use ordinances that would dictate more on the development on how we're addressing that. On another piece with the growth, the council has been very supportive in the utility piece and all that we've been working on for the last over 10 years. We started back in 2015 looking at the sewer system, trying to monitor out and figure out how would be the best direction to go with it. And consequently, over the years through those modeling process, we were able to initiate some improvements that we feel in the future will serve us extremely well. Right now, the city is in the midst of a $16.5 million investment in our sewer system, where our sewer plant will double in capacity, and we'll also improve some of our collection lines and repairs on them also. The plan is to have all of this work completed by September 2026, and the actual work on the sewer plant itself is completed at this time. That is one of the phases with the utilities. The other piece is with our water capacity. If you look at our peak day that we've consumed water in the last 12 months, it's been a little over 1.9 million gallons. We have a pumping capacity of 5 million gallons a day. So right now, during our peak period, we only pull about 38% of our reserves. On the electric piece that I think we can all attest to, was back during the cold event in January. It was probably the high peak that we're going to receive all year long. At that time, we were very fortunate. Our substation only pulled 40% capacity. So as far as lining up for development on the infrastructure side, we're in a good position as we move forward. Now, on the piece on planning, Planning Commission has been extremely diligent in this, seeking out public input on projects that come forward, and trying to do the best job that we can, and to try to minimize future problems. We know traffic is a piece of that too, and we're working on major intersections improvements. So I would say for the Planning Commission, they have done an excellent job in moving this forward, so we'll be ready for the next step. Thank you.
If you would like for me to repeat the question anytime, please let me know, and I'll be glad to do that. Candidate Ruthie Campbell.
Thank you. To try not to repeat too much that is already out on the table, I will go in the direction of, I like to call it guided growth. It's been part of a lot of research that I have been doing over the last couple of years with all of the subdivisions coming in and all the interest and the upsetness from a lot of citizens for reasons that are definitely worthwhile being upset about. Guided growth, whenever you follow, not smart growth, guided growth, whenever you follow guided growth, your zoning board of adjustments is a use tool, USE use tool. And whenever you go through the zoning board of adjustments, whenever you know your zoning that you have and what you're going to be working with, you use those tools for what you're going to do on that land. Whenever it comes up to the planning commission, whenever they're overlooking it, that is the commission that moves you through and makes way through this development with what you're going to do, whether it's for the infrastructure or the changes or what needs to be, if there's not enough room for a fire truck, for instance, to go around in that area where that subdivision is going to be, whatever it is, the planning commission drives through that for the public and for the developers who's coming. The best tool for this guided growth is the public. When the public comes out and shares their interest in this endeavor, because the public can make and break a difference, and we're very thankful for that, and glad whenever the public does have the interest and comes out. But with all this growth that's coming through, that's exactly right. If all the boxes are checked off, and just to be simple with it and call it boxes that you check off through your zoning and your planning commission times and planning and meetings, if those boxes are checked off, you cannot just turn a subdivision down. Otherwise, you're liable to be sued. Your city is, and maybe even you individually if a lot ends up happening. However, whenever you check those boxes off, those boxes you can regulate a whole lot whenever you're on planning commission. And you can make sure that, for instance, R1 that you're going to have, it can be larger than just 1,200 foot. You can have more than just 60 foot of a frontage, up to 80 foot or even more, whatever you want to do to make those subdivisions nice. So Robertsdale can stand up to standards like other neighboring municipalities that come in with developments and have such a big difference than some of ours. Some of ours are really nice and some are just fine, but they're just normal smaller subdivisions that upset people, and once people move in or move out, then you have a lot that's vacant and a lot that's vacant. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Russell Johnson.
Thank you. Well, growth is here. It's not coming, it's already here, so we should carefully approach it. I would recommend at minimum a 6-month moratorium, if not longer. And that would be on single home dwellings or commercial. That would be on multi-home site developments, With that time, a pause of all the building, we can go back. We can look at our land use ordinance and change things on it. We can involve the citizens to plot and arrange and change the zonings. Because we must change the minimums legally to where when somebody does come into the city, the guidelines, let's just say, are bigger, so we then can negotiate down. But as it stands now, if someone comes in, they're legally, they can build how they want to build, and that's fine. But if we want to be careful with the growth, because we can always negotiate, but you can't negotiate up. So we should take the time that we have off to think about those things and change our land use ordinance and be very specific and include the citizens on planning where we want our businesses, where we want our residential homes to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to question 2, and we'll start with candidate Ruthie Campbell. Regarding the electric system cost, can you explain how it has increased or decreased over the last 5 years? What factors have driven these changes? And how do you plan to manage these expenses to ensure long-term affordability for the residents in the area?
And that's almost as difficult to answer as it is to try to work out with the city or as a resident. However, we have been under a good contract over the past 8 years. I know you said just 5, but the past 8 years we've been under the same electric company that has fed us the electricity that we have used and went out, and there was no price rises in that. There was no COLA add-ons to it. Nothing ever had to change. It's hard whenever we don't realize that we're using so much electricity in our own home, and I am not trying to take up for that because I have to pay that absorbent price myself. However, the last 8 years, we were really blessed to get to have that company for 8 years straight, and nothing changed, not any other change. It is going to change though, however, and some of this information has went out to the public already in some of the quarterly newsletter, but in January of 2026, it's going to change because at the end of 2025, the contract will end with MEAG, who we have had this electricity with out of Georgia, a municipal electric association. And that's who we have had our electricity with for the last 8 years. So whenever we started looking at the different ones in the city, we're looking at the different electrical companies to go with and to check on and to see what we wanted to look at and research more into. There was a lot of thought and process in that. However, MEAG still came out on top to be the lowest for us. However, for a brand new contract beginning in January, the price is going to go up. So as of several months back earlier this year, we voted to, the price goes up. It has slowly been increasing, very slowly been increasing, because there was a lot of questions I had about that and didn't quite understand it. But I do slowly, so whenever December gets here, in January, and our last bill is paid for the electricity that we've had under that contract. January comes, it won't be a huge chunk, change that come out of our pockets. Even the smallest, home of 1,200 or 1,500 square foot could be an easy $50 to $60 more a month just right off the bat. And that's, the small homes. So businesses are going to feel it. All homes are going to feel it, whatever size home it is. However, it is something that's inevitable, and we can't know what that's doing. However, just to keep working with our citizens, do whatever we can, because we're in this ourselves as well, and we don't want what nobody else wants either. But to just stay on top of that and to work with our contract and do what we can.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll hear from Candidate Russell Johnson.
I believe the generation cost of electricity are kind of set. There's not much you can do about that. But I believe that utilities are a public service, and it should never be looked at as a vital part of our revenue. And I believe we have a dependency on the electric department as our revenue. It actually supplements the general government. So I believe that it's hindered the growth of the sales tax base. I think that's where we should look at. And I guess if you look at it, the electricity is kind of an added tax. And to me, if there's any profit made on a public utility, it should go back to the customers as a reduced rate. So I know that's one way to reduce the cost for sure, but we have to plan to increase our sales tax base in order for that to happen. I think principally utilities have to be looked at as a public service.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from incumbent Charles Murphy.
Glad to. Thank you very much. During my tenure, I negotiated about 6 power generation contracts. And basically what happened in 16, because the escalated price from Southern Wholesale, we knew we needed to look out for alternatives. So we went out for proposals in the first quarter of 16. We came back with 5 providers, and MEAG was the lowest. We got an 8-year contract with them at flat price, no COLAs or adjustments. It was an excellent contract for us. In fact, that contract was so good over the 8-year run, it saved us $12 million, which was $1.5 million a year. One of the things the council at that time agreed to do was to, out of the 1.5 annually we were going to reap from it, was to give a $300,000 discount back to the customers. So basically what they received was about a 3% discount. Then the city kept the additional surplus of 1.2. What that money has done for you is built Honeybee Park, it's done all the water expansion, it's helped in funding over $3 million of cash money the city's put into these sewer improvements. It helped to fund the $500,000 we just spent at Gary Park over the last 4 years with the children's equipment. So it's been very beneficial to us. It was a great contract. We did that contract at a time when there was excess demand in the marketplace. What consequently happened about 3 years ago, we started trying to enter into renegotiate another extension with MEA, but at that time it was not possible. We went back out for proposals in 2024. We secured 4. MEA ended up being the lowest at that time, but their rate was going up 58.5%. Now, what does that really mean to our customers right here with the cost factor? It will increase our generation cost based on 2024 consumption, $2.3 million. It's really pretty simple. The capacity in the market's dried up. There's no excess out there. And so you basically have to go to the market price on it. Now, let me say this also. With the city, we have a cost adjustment formula for electricity. It was actually established back in the 80s because of fuel adjustment charges, and over the years it's been refined. The last time it was adjusted was back, or the formula was adjusted was back in 2017. It contains 2 parts. One is generation cost, one is operational cost. We couldn't do anything with the formula based on generation because it's set. The piece to it is, on the operation we were able to actually tack on another penny back in November. So what we're looking at this point in time, we have to go up on rates 2 cents. What does that mean for you? Right now, the customers in Robertsdale are paying 1 cent less than customers in EMC. But come January, they'll be paying any more. Thank you very much.
Pause and change my sound.
Is it back?
Okay.
So that, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Are you ready to go now?
Chris says we're good.
Okay. Sorry about that. We needed to change the microphone so the viewers could hear us better with your responses. We'll move now to question 3, and we'll begin first with candidate Russell Johnson. The question is, with all that is happening within the community, do you see a need to increase taxes to support the addition of services the city might provide to the residents?
Absolutely not. I believe if we, like I said, if we help the sales tax base, if we recruit businesses, the ones that we need here or want here, and bring them in, and we make Robertsdale a place that's not just where you come home to, but you want to work here and you play here, you eat here, you do your life here, and if people stay here, the taxes will come in. So there's no reason to increase them. Our local economy has to be stimulated somehow, but absolutely not with there's no reason to raise taxes for anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from incumbent Charles Murphy.
Let me just say this, in 33 years of service and 4 years on the council, we have never increased property taxes or sales tax. What I would say with sales tax right now, it's running at about $5.7 million for this year. And I do agree with what Council Member Johnson indicated. Historically, the utility system has subsidized general government, and normally at a tune of somewhere around $1.5 million. Now, what we are looking at is this: with the growth of the houses, basically we're taking in more money in property taxes now, so it's escalating up. Right now, we're proposed this year to take in about $530,000 in property taxes. I can remember back 4 years ago when that number was around 350,000. The sales tax piece that I told you that we were generating 5.7, a little over it. I can remember back our heyday was back in 2006 when we did 2.5. And unfortunately, in 2008, it dropped to 1.3, which meant $30 million less was being spent in the community. What I foresee with the economy, it's going to continue to grow and it's going to prosper. And at a point in time, that lever is going to change to where you will have enough taxes coming in to meet your means, provided that we manage our system and we don't overspend. One of the things that I will convey to you is back in 2006, we had 92 full-time employees. And today we've got 92 full-time employees. So in 19 years, we have not increased headcount. We have changed job titles. We've included 3 SROs, 2 patrolmen, communication and rental officer now, and a city engineer. But we've also lost positions. We had 3 meter readers, and now we're down to 1 because of technology. We had 10 technicians in the electrical department, and we've streamlined it to 6. So what we have done, we've kept our headcount stable by migrating jobs to other positions. As I indicated, I just see some positive things going for us in the future, especially on the utility side. With all the capacity that we're adding into the system right now, we're capturing those capital expenditures right now at the lowest level we can. And in the future, they are truly going to benefit the city and bring a financial return. And I think historically, that's what we've been able to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear the response from candidate Ruthie Campbell.
Thank you. I certainly agree. I do not want to pay more taxes. I don't want everybody else to either. That's a big struggle whenever those bills come in. I will say what's hard, for instance, with Robertsdale, our 9% tax that we have here, 4% of that goes to the state, 3% goes to the county, and 2% stays in Robertsdale. And that's what that has been for years, and that doesn't need to go up. However, that big, large 9% does not all go to Robertsdale, and a lot of people think that it does. The smaller amount is what goes to Robertsdale. The taxes for property taxes and then the tag taxes, for instance, that is a very small amount as well. None of that does anything to bring income into the city, and people think so. That's where education, throughout our city, maybe, whether we had little seminars on things on weekends and people wanted to come, or whether we, put that out, in a message to everybody. But the taxes, all those taxes do not fund Robertsdale. And but it always hurts whenever you go to the grocery store, which, by the way, the state has dropped. There's the smaller taxes from the state on our groceries. But however, whether we're going to the grocery store, or we're going to the gas station, or we're going to pay for our tag or property taxes, or anything that we do in the city, it's a very, very small amount that comes to us. And again, that's not understood completely by all. And that would be a good learning tip to teach folks and to have little seminars and different things.
Thank you very much. Now we'll move to question 4, and we'll start with incumbent
Thank you.
Charles Murphy.
Oh, that's fine. I do too.
Could you provide an overview of the city's budget trends and discuss where you see revenue streams going in the future?
Mark, I'd be glad to. Our budget this year is just a hair over $31 million. I can remember when Mr. Kitchens and I went on the city council back in '88, that number was about $3.8 million. So you can see where revenue streams have grown by over 1,000%. Where the money has really come from has been through the utility department. I mean, that's really basically what's happened. But what I'm going to say with the economy overall, what we're looking at, we see sales tax continuing to grow. We're going to have more commercial development. And we're also going to see property taxes, the revenues from it come up because of the additional homes that are coming in here. Where we see with utilities is the fact that basically with the way we've managed the system and trying to maintain our cost, we see going forward in the future that it's only going to be a more profitable entity for the city, which means a great deal. What I will say with it, too, is this. We've got another line item of revenue in our budget this year, which is our franchises, our pole attachments, and our rental income. I can remember when I was first elected mayor back in '92, the total for that was about $25,000. Today, we will take in about $650,000. We've got a daycare unit over on Palmer Street that most people don't realize that we even own. Next year, it'll be 25 years old, and during that period of time, it's taken in almost $1 million. We got a 2-acre tract out the wastewater treatment plant that we negotiated a contract for a cell tower back in '95. That lease will expire in 2040, and at that point in time, it will have brought in the city $750,000. This building that we're sitting in today cost us $2.2 million, and the county is going to give us back 2.2 over the 20-year run on it. So in essence, it will be free for us. But this unit takes in about $100,000 a year in rental now. If we go back up the street to the Diamond Food property where Swift is located at, we bought that property back in 2014 for $600,000. Last year, when it was 10 years old, we took in $1.2 million in rental fees. So where I'm coming from on the revenue side, I think we're in a firm position for things to be better. The big issue we have with any kind of operation is making sure we maintain our expenses. We want to make sure that we compensate our employees fairly and we provide them a quality of life that goes along with it. But in doing so, as I indicated before, we have kept our headcount stable by going to higher efficiencies, and we will continue to do that in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll hear a response from candidate Ruthie Campbell.
Thank you. And Mayor Murphy is exactly right. $31 million budget is what we've had for the year 2025 that we passed last year in 2024. And I want to mention, as I have my meet and greets that are online as well, I will have that budgeted notebook out there. And I will mention that it's here. I'll say some of the numbers in it, and then, or I'll say to move on. I'll say, please, come look at it afterwards. Help yourself. Ask any questions, which we do many times after the meet and greets. People want to come up and look at it, and they comb through it page by page and really see. I love to see the interest for sure. And it's also correct that our water, our gas, and our sewer does not bring anything into the city, and a lot of times it shows in the negative, which some of that does show in the budget. However, the electric is what does surpass and come through, and that's what does a lot of funding for our city. The others do not. They're a complete public service for that. But I will also say that communication, I would love to bring into City Hall, if elected mayor, I would love to bring in a huge communication transparency figure being to go live, immediately to go live, to where people can see while it's live or afterwards, or to go back and see whenever they have time, but to see just what we're talking about, what we're doing, and meetings, for instance, whenever we're going over this budget, because we go over it with a fine-tooth comb during workshop, and then we turn around during council and go over it again. People will see it for themselves as we're talking about it and introducing the fact to citizens that are there, and citizens are having input back to us. Whenever we go live, that will make a huge difference. And that's what I plan to do. But our budget, $31 million, is what it has been for this year. And if anybody would like to see a copy, of course, there's one at City Hall. Any of us have copies, but it explains a lot whenever you can see and look at it yourself on paper, or in the future, if I'm your mayor, to be able to show live if you're unable to come and get out. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear the response from candidate Russell Johnson.
Do you mind repeating the question,
I'll be
please?
glad to. Could you provide an overview of the city's budget trends and discuss where you see revenue streams going in the future?
Well, the trend is up, like everything is. Prices are all up, so the trend is always up. But I think more so debt comes up. It's one of the issues. And as far as debt, we stand pretty good. I know it looks like we might not, but our general obligation debt, which we have a constitutional limit of 20%, and that's the city's assets versus our revenue. And we're the limit's 20%, and we're at 0.84%. So I think that's good. But if we dove into the budget and looked, there's things in there that, to me, and I'm a researcher, that I have found are not really clear. There's things that are maybe paid out of different departments, and I'm sure it's all upstanding. It's just not. It's hard to interpret sometimes. So I would like for there to be, very clear down to the minute, so we can actually see. But the trends are up. Revenue streams,
like I said, if we build up our sales tax base, we don't have to worry about the other revenue streams. They'll come, but we should put most of our focus on that.
Thank you. We'll move to question 5 now, and it will be first Ruthie Campbell with her response. How will you balance the needs for capital improvement projects with the goal of keeping taxes and fees reasonable for the residents?
Good question. And a lot of that will have to do with our grants as we file for grants. The city of Robertsdale does have a grant writer, and she and her business have been good for the city of Robertsdale with finding grants, finding things for us that we need, whether we were searching for it or not. But knowing it was something a municipality could use, we went forth with some. But she searches and researches for them, and according to at times what might come through, very well would be the project that we would need to move through with. Now, saying that, if we jumped ahead and did something without a lot of searching, or whether we could find something or not, we just moved ahead with it, then all of our tax base would go straight to that project. So I would say that the majority of that would come from how our funding will be coming in to fund that project and the way it funds it. It's very important for our income and what the city does bring in and what goes out and what is standard and in our budget. Our deficit, as Russell was talking about, is our long-term debt is only like 6 cents on the dollar, very small, and most of that is going towards the 50-50 matches, or for what the grant's not paying for. And I think that the city handles its money very, very well in so many respects. In our short-term debt, we don't have short-term debt. We have in excess of. But for what would come first and second, or what would come in line, I feel would have a lot to do with how our grants are coming in and what we're able to do and when we're able to do it. Because if we don't have it, then we don't need to be spending it, and we don't need to be moving forward with it, whatever it may be.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Russell Johnson.
I feel as if we're playing from behind, kind of, and I think we're going to have to invest a lot in our infrastructure and the capital needs. To build up the tax base is going to take a while, so it might hurt at first, but we're going to have to invest in the city in order to get the right businesses here, to make it attractive for people to want to not just live here but shop and all that here. So it's going to hurt, I think, just a little bit, but I have faith that this town will rally together. Mainly the infrastructure, because there's a lot to deal with there. And if there's drainage problems, if there's sewage, fix it. We can't wait on grants for that. We need to fix it. And with the moratorium, we can look into traffic. We can look into all the other things, all the capital projects we need, put in turn lanes. That'll give us time to assess and find the revenue streams that we might need.
Thank you. And we're here now from incumbent Charles Murphy.
Mark, thank you again. Let me just say to begin with, if anybody wants the financial sources from the city, you can go on our city webpage under documents and forms. The budget's under there, our annual audit's under there, and it's also historically tracked. If you go to the city minutes, the expense sheets that the council approves is on there also. So, I mean, it's very transparent, and you can see where we're at. Right now, with the city financially, we're in really good shape. The number on cost per dollar has increased a little bit over what Ms. Campbell indicated, and she wouldn't have knowledge to this, but it's no longer 6 cents, it's 6.8. And the reason it went up was when we closed on the USDA loan on that $7.8 million, which has cost us now $275 a year, or $70,000, I'm sorry. But what you can see is this, that's a very extremely low debt ratio. What you're holding in long-term debt right now is $26.8 million. What you're holding in short-term debt, as she's indicated, that normally we would do, where we would go out and we would purchase major pieces of equipment on a 5-year plan, is right now is zero. We have no short-term debt. We have finally got to a position just this year when we bought a new dump truck for about $150,000. We paid cash for it. Last year when we paid $245,000 for a new garbage truck, we paid cash for it. What I would say with the financial stability of the city, we are going to be more financially stable in the future because of a lot of the asset growth that we've already done through the utility system. When you really look at what we've accomplished over the last 4 or 5 years, we've increased a lot of capacity, especially on the sewer piece that everyone is very sensitive to. Right now, you've moved down to where you're only using 40% capacity of that plant. And with all the new line we've put in and the holes we filled up, the capacity will be even greater on it. So as we bring on new customers, it'll give us an opportunity to bring in new revenues on it also. What I would say, there's a demand for recreational facilities, and we want to be mindful of that. But if you look historically with us for the last 15 years, we have paid cash on all of our recreational venues. I mean, when we added the 2 additional ballparks in the past 5 years out at the park, that was cash. When we did the Honeybee Park, which was $1 million project, it was cash. So we have tried to eliminate the debt source with it. What I do see for the community is this: with the increased production with sales tax and property tax and on the utility side, I think the community will really prosper in the future, provided that we continue to maintain our mindset of trying to pay as we go. And thank you.
And now we'll move to our final question, and the first response will be from candidate Russell Johnson. How do you plan to advocate for Robertsdale's needs at the state and federal level, including securing grants or legislative support?
I believe everything starts with the relationships and respect, and I will treat everybody as equal, and I will build relationships between our senators, our state senators, and I will advocate for Robertsdale as full as possible. Now, there's a learning curve on that. There's relationships that have to be built, some that already are there, but I'm more than willing to do what's necessary to advocate for Robertsdale to the fullest extent, because I live here. I've chose to live here. I mean, why wouldn't I? And the relationships, that's really where you have to build, because people could say that they can get this done, that done, but if you don't have the confidence from somebody, you might not. But grants, I believe that we should create a position of an in-house grant writer and maybe combine it with other job description, but someone who's in-house who is constantly always looking for grants for us to apply to and get for our city.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll hear a response from incumbent Charles Murphy.
Mark, thank you again. Let me say this on the grant process. The city has worked very diligently over the last 5 years in securing grants. In fact, we took in almost $14 million in grants during that period. But what I'm going to say to the general public, grants are going to start to dry up. That all started with the Biden administration, and it's not going to continue on with the Trump administration, and I don't personally think it should. What I would say, I agree with Council Member Johnson, you have to have relationships. One of those relationships was when we were looking for funding for the amphitheater, and we were looking to make an application on the Go Mesa funds. I got in touch with Chris Blankenship, the Executive Director for Conservation and Natural Resources, and set up a luncheon meeting with him in Robertsdale. When he came to my office and talked to me about it, he told me there was no funding. This was back in '23. I said, well, we're going to lunch at Ivy's. I said, let's go by the site and look at it. And it was an old public works site. We go by to look at it. He looks at it. We go and sit down in the restaurant. We're talking. And I kept talking about the project and what it meant to us. And finally, he made a very interesting comment to me. He said, I think the governor would like this project. And that's when I knew that I had something. He said, if I had a set of plans, this would help a lot. Guess what? I had a set of plans in the truck that were fully drawn. So when we walked out, I gave it to him. And then consequently, that was in September of 22. In July of 23, they announced that we were getting $2 million on this project. Now, On that project, we've also submitted for another another $1 million under an ADECA grant that I think we've got a really great chance this year of securing. But what I'm going to say with relationships, we all understand we have to be able to communicate with people, we have to meet people, and we have to get along with people. I think over the years I've done an extremely good job with that. Serving on the league, on their executive board, being a past president, serving on the executive board of Electric Cities of Alabama, serving as vice chairman of South Alabama Regional Planning Commission. You meet a lot of people, you talk to a lot of people, and you can make relationships. Now, does that mean that you're going to be able to get anything you want? The answer to that is simply no. It's like at home. We don't get everything that we want from our spouse, but you have to negotiate to see what you can do. And I think through those negotiations in the future, we can be very fruitful for our community, just as we've been in the past. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and you go.
We hear a response now from Ruthie Campbell.
Yes, thank you. So as far as grants, that's Mayor said exactly what is happening. It's going to slowly dwindle down. However, as long as they're out there and as long as we can reach out for them, that's what needs to be done. That's will be done. But I would love myself to be able to reach out for grants to be able to look for revitalization through our downtown Robertsdale. I'd love to see a lot done, and for us to be able to work with the businesses and a lot of times grants, you know, for us, the city, and maybe even for the businesses themselves as well, for grants, you know, that together, you know, very well a lot could happen and revitalize us. You know, we need it so much. And for instance, things like our splash pad, we have a wonderful splash pad. It does need some revitalizing, and you know, grants can help you with the different things it just takes to search, but we need covers over them, and we have the beautiful playground area, as the mayor mentioned earlier. Beautiful. It's awesome, very nice, and brand new. However, it's so hot out there, we don't have any cover, and those are very expensive and very much needed. So that is on a list of mine to do immediately, to try to find something. I go out there with my grandchildren and sit right out there with everybody else, and all the parents and the families are just as hot as little kids sliding down, and the things are hot on their legs and the slides and stuff and what have you. However, as far as legislation, we do go, our city council attends every year in Montgomery Advocacy Day, and we sit in there and we listen to our legislators as they talk to us as a group from the state through the Alabama League of Municipalities, as well as afterwards, then we get to have one-on-one with them. As long as we can grab them and keep them with us, we can talk to them all day. Then, of course, we can go home and call them and keep up with them. But I belong to another organization, the South Bar Republican Women, and we spend a lot of time in legislation as well. And it doesn't matter what you're up there talking about. You can talk about several different subjects. Whether you're there with the South Bar Republican Women, what we're talking about very well could be with our city. It just doesn't matter. We're up there, and if you have that relationship with your legislators, which I do, and I'm thankful for it, whenever you have that relationship and you can call and talk to them or visit them in person, whether it's lunch or just to visit them in general to ask about questions or to call, it is so favored to call your legislators when something's coming up, to call, to tell them you want, House Bill number something passed or you don't, or, in the Senate, whatever it may be. That relationship with our senators and our representatives is just important as the citizens having a relationship with the city of Robertsdale's municipal government. So nevertheless, that's all very important. That's things I would love to see with grants. I hope that they do stay around, for a longer time than possibly anticipated. But however, we need those things and much more, and through grants, and our legislators just keep them close at hand. Our relationship with them is the same as we want. Thank you.
Thank you. Earlier, we had some technical difficulties with the microphones. The viewers have asked if you would be willing to respond to questions 1 and 2 again. Would each one of you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
It might have to be asked again.
I will definitely ask it again for you. First, we'll begin with incumbent Charles Murphy.
I believe that was on growth.
Yes, sir. Residents want smart growth.
Okay.
But legal restrictions make it difficult to simply stop development if a project meets all the requirements. How would you work with both citizens and developers to prevent overdevelopment while avoiding costly lawsuits?
Mark, thank you for the question about growth, and what I would just indicate is the city has a process that we go through right now, and that is through the Robertsdale Planning Commission. It's a 9-member commission. You have some fantastic people that serve on that only have one goal, and that's to make their community better. Right now, they're in the midst of finishing up their new comp plan. The last one was finished up in 15. We're hoping to have this done by this fall. And then we're going to move on to look at some possible changes in the land use ordinance, which actually governs subdivisions, lot sizes, and everything that encompasses it. There has been a lot of pressure here on it. One of the big pressures is the cost of development to begin with. These are extremely expensive projects, and everyone has to be mindful of it. Not necessarily that somebody wants a new subdivision in the backyard, but what they have to think about was when they moved there probably wasn't anyone there either, so it was the same situation. But we want to make sure that we maintain guidelines that are fair to all. I mean, the guidelines we set, that's what would apply to the developer, and it would also protect the citizens. With the Planning Commission meetings, they're open to the public, and we relish public input, and we've had plenty of it with some of these developments that have come up, because our main course with this is to try to minimize problems. We don't want to approve something that's going to create a problem that down the road, 5 years from now, is an expensive fix in trying to repair it. So that's been one of our biggest focuses. And I think joined together, we can make all of that work. Are we all going to be satisfied with the growth that's around us? No, we're not. But the real issue here, unless you own the property, you don't control it. And at the price of some of this property, most people would say, I need to really do something for it because of the investment that it would bring me back. But like I said, we have been mindful of it, trying to capture raw property for future green space, for utility development. And the Planning Commission has indicated they have done an extremely good job with this. The Council's been very supportive on it also. And what we've tried to do is to bring an improved product to the community that will help it. As we talk more about business growth and commercial growth, it is based on numbers. And if you don't have the rooftops to establish a new major commercial unit coming into town, they're not going to. So it plays hand in hand, and I think in the past we've managed that extremely well. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear the response from Ruthie Campbell.
Okay, thank you. Guided growth. As I mentioned earlier, guided growth. I have done a lot of research over the last couple of years, as a lot has came to the city of Robertsdale, and a lot of growth has came that has upset a lot of the citizens that have came out. And as I mentioned before, definitely the best part of this whole picture is when the citizens do come out, because then they're speaking their mind and saying what they like, what they don't like, or what is bad about all these subdivisions coming in, or right in the area that it is across from the elementary school, or at the time our sewer wouldn't handle this and this, and why are we putting 300 homes in there, which is where that started out in the beginning. So the people are our biggest asset in information such as this. So guided growth. So the city working with guided growth, being first of all the Zoning Board of Adjustments, that is a used tool, USE, a used tool, and they will tell you how you will use your land. For instance, if you're wanting to build a home R1, that's your zone. Well, they will talk to you and tell you about what you can do on that land with that inset or however it may be. But it's a used tool, your Zoning Board of Adjustments. So your Planning Commission is the group of the 9 folks on the committee that put that into use for you and talk to you about it whenever developers come in and they bring all their specs and all their layouts and their drawings. For instance, I thought it was the best thing one night for one particular subdivision that is here now, and the change was made because of it. A particular individual stated, I do not believe there's enough room for a fire truck to go around that corner. Can we look at this again? And it led to the whole thing we completed, but whenever they came back the next month, that was a change, was for that fire truck to be able to make that round curve. So in the Planning Commission, that's what, pushes through, and whatever it is that you're needing to do or developer is needing to do, and the public coming out is the best that could ever happen. Also, the Planning Commission volunteers that serve on that, and the Zoning Board of Adjustments volunteers that serve on that, will come on and they don't always know exactly what it's all about unless they, Google or look up. They have information, but, unless they really study it a lot. And you'll go to these board meetings, and I'm sure it happens everywhere else too, but it does happen for us. Not everybody will talk or answer questions or ask questions. And it'll move all the way through the proceedings, and it'll be motioned and seconded and passed without many people saying anything. So I feel that both of those boards, it would be great whenever you come on and the board as a whole to meet 30 minutes, an hour early one month or something, but to have some little continuing education with it. Not only to update on, updated things, but however, to teach people, to let them know, what to look for and to ask questions, because we don't ask enough questions on there. And I think that would be great. It would just be an asset for everybody, because what you don't know, you don't know.
Thank you. Now we'll hear response from candidate Russell Johnson.
As I said before, we need to carefully approach the growth and recommend a 6-month at minimum, maybe more, moratorium on all new multi-site developments. So that's not your single home or a business, but on subdivisions. With that break, it'll give us just a time to sit back and assess the growth, and then we could go to the land use ordinance, look at what we need to change in it, if we need to change some of the minimums. Like as of now, if you come in as R1, I believe it's 12,000 square foot is the lot size, and maybe we should increase that to 20. So when people do come into the city, that we have more room to negotiate down. And I'd like the community's input, and we should plot and arrange where in our city we want our zonings to be. Where do we want our businesses? Where do we want our residential homes? And working all together, I think we can come with something that satisfies most, and really take the growth slowly. But we can't do that while the growth is continuing to happen. We need to just halt it for a second so we can assess things.
Thank you very much. So we'll go back to question 2 that we had, and we'll begin with candidate Ruthie Campbell. Regarding the electric system cost, can you explain how it has increased or decreased over the last 5 years? What factors have driven these changes, and how do you plan to manage these expenses to ensure long-term affordability for the residents?
Okay, thank you. All right, for our electrical contract, we were very fortunate as a city that the last 8 years we have been with the same company, MEAG, Municipal Electric Association of Georgia, and they're out of Georgia. We had a contract with them in the very beginning for 5 years, and in the 3rd year point in time, they got back with the city and said that they would extend it for us for another 3 years, but we had to sign up for it then, but nothing would change. So we did, and that gave us 8 full years with no changes in the cost of electricity that the city had to take on, no COLAs, nothing rose or nothing changed for the city. So nothing changed for for each one of us, the citizens. However, each one of us always have our bills are too high and hard to pay. We all, fall in that category, all of us. But in January of 2026, it will change. Because we came to the end of our 8 years and a new contract had to be signed. And as was mentioned before, we went out and sought several different electrical companies, and the mayor did that and others, and they brought it back to council, and we went down, and it ended up being that MEAG was going to be the least inexpensive for us again to go with. However, the cost is much higher. From what I understand, for a building that's about 1,200 to 1,500 square foot, a home, or it'll be about $50-something more a month, somewhere in that range. However, the change in that isn't anything that we can do about with the price of everything going up, including electrical. However, what we had the last 8 years, we'll never have that again. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Russell Johnson.
I believe utilities are a public service, and I believe it shouldn't be a vital source of revenue for a city. And I think our city has somewhat of a dependency on the revenue from the electric department. We should really build up our tax base and use that revenue to in the place of the utilities. But if a utility makes a profit, you would think it should go back to the customers as in a reduced rate. And we do make a profit off of it, so we wouldn't have to worry about the increases in costs. Like the generation costs are set, we can't negotiate that. So if we would do that, if we would rely on our sales tax base, build that up to where we can, then if we make any money off of it, we can return it to the customers.
Okay, thank you. Finally, we'll hear from incumbent Charles Murphy.
Okay. Thank you again, and it's a great question from me. I've negotiated about 6 generation contracts. The present contract we're under with MEAG was negotiated back in 2016. This is a flat price contract that was fantastic for us. There were no cost adjustments over its 8-year lifespan, which started in 2018 and will expire at the end of this year. But there's going to be a big change, as some of the candidates have already indicated, come January 1st. That generation cost from them is going to go up 58.5%. Well, what does that really mean to you? That cost structure is going to increase by $2.3 million. Now, can the city afford to absorb that cost? No, we cannot. We can't do that, period. But to put things on a broader frame to look at this, the city established a cost adjustment formula for the electric system back in the 80s based on power adjustment costs we were receiving then from Alabama Power. And over the years, we've refined it more. And the last time we made any adjustments to it was back in 2017. That formula has 2 factors. One's the generation side, one's the general operation side. With the anticipation of this increase, we couldn't do anything on the generation side because it hasn't happened yet. But we could do something on the general operation, and we did in November. We increased through that factor our pricing by a penny a kilowatt. Well, what does that really mean to the customers? Well, what it really means to the customers is this. Back in 2020, when we had COVID, and we shut everything down in March and April, we took the factor completely off of our electrical cost. Consequently, when we came out of it, we left it flat until October of 2024. So when you went to the grocery store and you were paying more for milk and bread, you were paying the same rate for electricity that you were in May of 2020. So we did that for you. We know to make ourselves whole through this process, we've got to go up 3 cents. We've already captured a penny of it, and now we've got to capture that other 2 cents on it before the contract goes into place, and we will. We will manage that. When we start looking at the average customer with a 12 to 1,400 square foot home that's probably utilizing somewhere around 1,500 kilowatts a month, what they're going to have to pay additionally right now is about $30 a month is what it's going to cost them. If you look at our pricing right now, our customers are paying a penny less than customers with EMC, and no reflection on EMC. But come January, they will be paying a penny more because we have to make ourselves whole with this, and we will. We've done some great management processes on this, and I can see some bright future in the generation process too, and we're going to look at some alternates to see if there's a possibility where the city could go into the wholesale business. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. And we appreciate you going back and answering questions 1 and 2 so the viewers could hear your responses better. Now we'll move to their closing comments. And remember that you have 1 minute for your closing statement. Okay. And again, you'll be given the sign of 30 seconds when it's remaining, and the alarm will sound when your time is up. We'll first begin, as we did before, with incumbent Charles Murphy.
Mark, thank you very much for hosting this afternoon, and certainly to the citizens here in Robertsdale. I would certainly appreciate your support, but, I appreciate your support all through the past for myself and my family, too. I also wish the best for the other candidates and for those that are seeking the council places, too. And I would be remiss if I weren't to acknowledge the Booth family today. With Roger being in the hospital, that we keep him in his prayers, that he will be basically blessed and have a speedy recovery. If you can think about me on August the 26th, I would certainly appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Before you pass the mic, one thing I failed to mention is if any of the viewers or residents want to reach out to you, what is the best way to contact you? What is your preferred method of contact?
Mark, my preferred method of contact is for them to simply email me, and that's real simple. It's mayor@robertsdale.org. It's just mayor@robertsdale.org. Or if they want to call me on my cell phone, because it's on my office number, that number is 251-978-8408, which the lady that lives in Ponder Place did Saturday, so we handled her issue. So anyone that has any questions, I'll be glad to address them. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from candidate Ruthie Campbell.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you, Chamber, for doing this and setting it up. And thank you all viewers, for everybody that's watching that wants to learn more about us. That's what we are here for. I would invite you to look at my Facebook page, which is Campaign for Robertsdale Mayor Ruthie Campbell. And on that page, you will have all the contact information for me, as well as the several meet and greets that I have already had, points of interest as well as videos. And also there's dates for 2 more meet and greets in August that is set, that I would love to see you at. Also on there is one of my flyers that I'm walking around house to house as I'm meeting and greeting everybody. And the flyer that I hand out has my phone number on that, which is 251-747-9390. I also have 2 things that I want to say. I advocate against a separate Robertsdale utility board, and I advocate against eminent domain. Our taxpayer dollars are paying for that, and I would like to see it end. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, we'll hear from candidate Russell Johnson.
I would like to thank all y'all for tuning in. I hope that I've earned your vote today. And I ask you to go to my Facebook if you want to get in touch with me, or you can come by Sweet Home Coffee and try to find me. I'll talk to anybody, anytime. I'll leave y'all with this. I see this. You have a choice as a voter of 2 paths. One that feels comfortable and you know, and another you might not know as well, but there's a lot of potential. So I ask you to pray for everybody that's up here, all the leaders. Please pray for this city, and pray for which path you think this city needs to go. Thank you.
Thank you. And we really do appreciate your time today. I'm going to turn the program back over now to Chris Kerby for the closing remarks. Chris?
First, I want to thank the candidates today. It takes a lot of courage to come out here and do this, and I think everybody who was watching it enjoyed it, made a comment about streaming all the meetings, so congrats. I want to thank everybody for attending. Our moderator, Mark Ingram, thank you. Our timekeeper, Jenny Buck. Our Government Affairs Committee and the Central Baldwin Chamber, Gail, Brooke, thank you all, as always, for all the hard work that you do in putting something like this together. A special thank you to the Loxley Police Department for providing our security today. Citizens with additional questions are encouraged to contact the candidates directly. We've read the comments on the Chamber's website, but we encourage you to reach out to the candidates directly for any further questions. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate you.